Hi, good morning. My name is Graciani Pook. I am from Belize, and today I will be presenting on missionary influence and cultural exchange, and I will be comparing that to my country. Cross-cultural encounters. First, let's define what is a cross-cultural encounter. A cross-cultural encounter happens when two different cultures meet, exchange ideas, and influence one another. In our case, the key encounter is between Western Christians, missionaries, and Chinese and Taiwanese society. Christian missionaries in China and Taiwan. Between the 19th and early 20th centuries, Protestants and Catholic missionaries built schools, hospitals, and churches in coastal China and on Taiwan. They learned local dialects, translated scriptures, and introduced Western science. Parallel in Belize history or Belizean history. Around the same period, British and North American missionaries, Methodists, Catholics, and Presbyterians arrived in Belize. Back then, Belize was known as British Honduras. They set up schools, clinics, and printed Creole and Garifuna language material. Focus question: Identity and understanding. Today, we will be focusing on how these missionary encounters shape modern personal and national identities and foster cross-cultural understanding. Presentation roadmap. In this presentation, we will journey slide by slide from language and literature to healthcare and moral education, and then compare Chinese or Taiwanese outcomes with those in Belize, and finish with a reflection on today's hybrid identities. Cultural bridges. Missionaries as cultural mediators. Beyond preaching, many missionaries spent years living in local communities. They hosted village dinners, attended festivals, and learned folk religion. This first-hand immersion helped them become bridges between Western and Chinese or Taiwanese ways of life. The local languages. Figures like um, Robert Morrison in Guangzhou and George Mackay in southern Taiwan studied Cantonese, Mandarin, and Taiwanese Hokkien. Mastery of local tongues built trust, showed respect, and demonstrated that missionaries valued native culture. Encouraging the Western language study. Missionaries then introduced English reading and writing in schools. Chinese reformers like Kang Youwei credited missionary-run institutions for sparking interest in Western ideas, science, and law. Belizean hymn translation. In Belize, Methodist and Catholic missionaries translated hymns into Creole and Garifuna, creating a parallel effect. Locals said that their mother tongues were worthy of sacred expressions, boasting pride and mutual respect. Breaking down stereotypes. Over time, Chinese and Belizean communities began seeing Westerners not just as colonial agents or strangers, but as neighbors and teachers, while missionaries shed pure outsider status and became part of local social fabrics. Language and literary exchange. Bible translation and linguistic innovation. Translating the Bible into Chinese required coining new words for grace, salvation, or sin. These coinages sometimes enter everyday speech, enriching their vernacular. Romanization system in China or Taiwan. Missionaries devised phonetic system like Morrison system for Cantonese, Gotsalaf system for Mandarin, and Peot for Hokkien that later evolved into Giles, Yale, or Pinyin method. They laid groundwork for mass literacy. Printing vernacular tracts. Small presses churned out tracts in the local dialects. Taiwanese farmers could read moral stories in their own tongue for the first time. Mission presses also printed maps, school books, and newspapers. Belize, Garifuna, and Creole Catechism. Similarly, Belizean missionaries printed religious primer and catechisms in Creole and Garifuna, giving these languages a written form and encouraging vernacular literacy. New literary vocabularies. From these activities emerged a vibrant hybrid literature. Taiwanese Hokkien newspapers columns mixing Confucian parables and Jesus parables. Belizean Creole poems that used biblical imagery to reflect on local life. Education and reform. Mission school and modern curricula. Missionaries founded tens of thousands of mission schools across China and Taiwan by the 90s. Curricula included reading, writing, arithmetic, geography, and hygiene, all subjects that previously were confined to elite academies. Blending Western science with Confucian ethics. Schools taught anatomy alongside lectures on Confucius' great learning. This fusion helped students see Western empirical methods as compatible with traditional moral framework. Formation of reform-minded elites. Many early Chinese reformers and revolutionaries like Sun Yat-sen attended missionary or missionary-affiliated schools. They created Christian education with broadening their worldview. Belize First English Medium School. In Belize, Methodist pioneered free primary education in English for Garifuna, Maya, and Creole children. This not only provided literacy but also created the first generation of English-speaking civil servants and professionals. Identity shift, villager to modern citizen. Throughout schooling, both Chinese and Taiwanese and Belizean youths began seeing themselves as modern actors in global context rather than confined locals, customs, or colonial hierarchies. Moral reform efforts. Christian ethics, compassion, and service. Missionaries taught that loving one's neighbor and serving the poor were central duties. This message resonated with China's Confucian emphasis on benevolence. Concept mirrored in Ren. Preachers often compared agape Christian love to Confucius' Ren, showing that Christian morality could complement, not contradict, Chinese ethical values. Anti-foot beating and purity campaigns. Mission School actively opposed foot binding and female infanticide, arguing from both Christian and humanitarian grounds. These campaigns helped transform social norms around women's rights. Belize church-led social justice. In Belize, churches organized relief during hurricanes and promoted campaigns against domestic violence. They connected spiritual teachings with concrete actions for forging a shared sense of civic duty. Community identity shaped by care. As villages rallied around missionaries, clinics, schools, or relief efforts, they developed a collective identity rooted in service and church streets that endured in both Taiwan and Belize community structure. Healthcare and identity. Mission Hospital and modern medicine. Pioneers like Dr. Hudson Tyler's collaborators and Dr. McKay's in Thailand opened the first Western-style hospitals. They performed cataract operation, delivered babies, and inoculated against smallpox, challenging traditional healers. Although this innovative sometimes created tension with Chinese herbalists, Many communities gradually accepted germ theory, sanitation, and vaccine as superior methods. Taiwan and Chinese public health awareness campaign during cholera and plague outbreak mobilized villagers, teaching them about clean water, waste disposal, and quarantine innovations that became part of provincial governance. Belize's first clinic in Belize Stone. Methodist and Catholic missions funded Belize's first clinic. Staffed by trained nurses, they introduced modern child health programs and basic surgery, transforming local understanding of illness and prevention. Identity through welfare network. Patients who recovered in this missionary hospital often became lifelong church members or active community volunteers, linking personal health to shared civic responsibilities. Artistic fusion. Western hymns meet local melodies. Missionaries taught choral singing but encouraged adoption of pentatonic scales typical of Chinese folk songs or Garifuna drum rhythms. This created fresh hymnody appreciated by both cultures. Christian themed village dramas. Biblical scenes like Noah's Ark, the Good Samaritan were performed in local dialects, sometimes interwoven with Chinese opera or Garifuna dance, offering popular entertainment and moral lessons. Belizean Creole gospel and reggae fusion. In Belize, Creole choirs later merged gospel lyrics with reggae beats, forging a national sound celebrated at carnival and church alike, an audible symbol of hybrid identity. Art as identity expression. This fusion shows how art became a canvas where Western and local elements blend, allowing both Taiwanese and or Chinese believers and Belizeans to see multiple parts of their identity reflected in a creative form. Comparative insights, shared legacies. Both Belize and East Asia experienced profound transformation due to missionary influence, fostering literacy and education alongside healthcare and social reform that shaped modern identities and communities. Cultural divergence. Belize's multi-ethnic colonial context contrasts with China's vast empire. Yet both regions demonstrate resilience through intercultural ministry, showcasing unique faith expressions that reflect local tradition and histories. Thank you for listening.